Hello and welcome back to Discovering Dataflix. Today we're going to look at how to update data in a view where you want to do it manually. You might want to change something or add something, perhaps update some value in the database that is not present in the view even. Just changing a state or something of a variable. And the reason is that when I started out working with Dataflex, I kind of learned the basic clear, move, find statements. And when it came time to work with data dictionaries, I couldn't really figure them out. So I continued to work with the clear, move, find in a bad way. So we're going to look at the bad way I used to update the data dictionaries. And then in order to learn how to do the data dictionaries correctly, I kind of overdid it. So I tried to do it in a really bad way and got a lot of errors and issues, and there are a lot of things I did not understand. So I'm going to cover those as well. And then we're going to look at the final way, the best way to work with data dictionaries that will make your life so much easier. And during this video, we're also going to touch on a few other neat small features that we might have use for when we work with these views. So without further ado, let's look at the computer. Yes, and we're going to look at the bad way of doing this. So if you look over here, you can see that we have a button, and when I click the button, I want to add updated to the name of this view. So in here, the whatever is here is going to update with the text updated. And let's see, if I click this bad button, then I have to make a clear item to make sure that I have a clear object. And this is actually when I'm working with the global buffer. So I need to figure out what is the active post in the view. And I do that by doing a web get PS value of the name in this case. I would rather have the ID, but since I'm not presenting the ID in the view, I cannot do a web get to get that value. So I get the name, and then I move the name into the global buffer, and I run a find. And I cannot run the find equal, because if you look at the indexes here, if I go by index 2, name is not unique because it has the ID as well. So if I take equals and try to find something when I only put the name in here, it will not find it because it has an ID. We will dive deeper into this in later videos as well, so don't worry about that right now. But I have to use the greater or equal to actually find this post. And then I update the name and in the global buffer, because now I have the buffer loaded. And then I run a save record. But here is the issue, because save record won't use any of the validations or auto increment or what have you in your data dictionary. It will just save the value that you put here. So if you, for instance, have not added anything in your buffer, if you just on the first page without any data in the data dictionaries, this will find the first post and update that post with the updated. So that's not really what you want. And when we save this record, the interface is still not updated. So we have to run the webset PS value to actually update the view as well, because otherwise you won't notice that this has changed. And this actually have the added effect of adding this change to the data dictionary as well, because the data entry objects and the data dictionaries are synchronized in a very neat way. But you're gonna run into some issues if you do it this way. So I knew this. I knew that the data dictionaries did thing in a better way. So I really wanted to change this to use the data dictionaries instead. And I ended up doing something even worse. And what happened? Well, look at this. It's not even fitting in my screen here. Let's see. I start out by getting the PS value of the object again, because if I do a clear first, as I did before, I will actually clear the data dictionary, and then I won't get a value from the item names. I won't find anything, and that's completely useless. So what I had to do is web get the PS value of item name, and then clear the OID. And a little caveat here: if you for some reason forget to type off, which I do often because I think I want to clear the OItem data dictionary, I don't want to clear off the OItem data dictionary. It's kind of disappears mentally in my head, so I often forget that. But if you do, you won't get an error, and it won't do anything for you, and that is kind of a bit dangerous. So beware of that one. Then I try to set current field current value of the data dictionary, but since this one is not updating the global buffer, a request find won't find anything. So you have to actually set the global buffer for this to work. So I was a little bit annoyed that I couldn't use the correct data dictionary syntax to find the value. And then I do a request find, and note the greater than equal as well here. And then when I found the item, I wanted to use the set field current value, but the set field current value only updates the current value and do not indicate for the request save that this is a field that should be saved because it has been updated. So you need to set the field change state as well to true. Otherwise, the data dictionary will completely ignore the change you've made. And you can actually do both in one go by using the set field changed value. So then it will both update the current value and set the change state to true. And that's probably what you need. And here you also have the option of doing a request validate, which is really good, because then you will validate that the value you're actually pushing is correct. And if you get an error, then you won't save, and the system will put an error on the screen instead. And then you can finally do the request save, and you will have your data updated, and it will also automatically update the data entry object. So you don't need this last piece of code here for updating. So what is wrong with this? Well, for starters, it's a lot more code, and I thought it would be simpler to use data dictionaries. So what is the actual correct way of using data dictionaries? Since the view is already connected to the data dictionary, and the data dictionary is maintaining the data for you as you open and move around in the view. The values are already in there, and you can trust that the values are there. So you can actually do a get field current value of the name, and you will get the correct value because it is loaded in the data dictionary. And then you can set field change value with the updated. And I also added the ID here just to show that I can even get field current value of values that are not presented in the view, but are in the data dictionary and are based on the tables in the data dictionary. And then I call this request validate and request save. And then we're done. So I don't need all the hassle of looking up the values to make sure that I have the correct values that I thought I had to do in order to work properly with data dictionaries. This is good if you need to find something else or want to update the view, but not if you just want to change a value in the current item you're looking at in the view. So let's run this and just see that it works. Oh, and a little small feature that we want to add here as well. We have this be clear after save, and as default, it is set to true. So if I go in here and I find a value, for instance, bike, and I click bad, now it's updated. So if I go back, I have to select that. If I go forwards and back, it will work. But if I want to remove this and I press save, yes, save, it will clear. So I have to find the bike again. And I don't really want this for this view. So I want to set this to false, because then we can click worse and see that it actually works as well. And if I go back and forth, it's here. And if I remove that and press save again, you see that I'm still on the bike. I'm still on this post. And another thing to note, you see, I do not get the question if I want to save or not, because none of these fields are actually set to change state to true. But if I do change something here, it will actually ask me because there has been a change made. So this is completely automatic. And now if I press the best way, well, it has the ID and it says updated as well. And just to show you here, another thing I want to show you is that if I'm in this field, I will go back and forth in the order of these. But if I move down to this field and select that, and I go back and forth, it will actually use the index for this field to go back and forth. And that could be confusing if you're tabbing around and then if let's say I'm on the bike and I want to go to candles, and I'm just tabbing around, and now I'm here, and now I get paint blue. So that's a bit annoying. So if you want to fix that, this one is only going by this index for this field, you can actually go into the data dictionary and set ordering to 2, as 2 is the name index. So now as I recompile this, you will see that it works as normal here. But it also works if I'm in this field, and if I'm in holiday, the holiday field, I'm still going back and forth using the correct index that I wanted. So that is a really nice thing to have. And just to show you that if I set the name to blank, we can see in the data dictionary here that name is actually a required field, so it may not be blank. So let's see if we also just try to set the name to blank on this first one. We can see the difference. Now I find the bike and I click bad. And now it has cleared the name. And if I go back and forth here, I see candles and I get a blank one and it's supposed to say bike. Save. And now if I press the best way, I actually get a warning saying that you cannot set this to blank. It is a required field on this window. So we need to set bike there in order to be able to save this. So that was all I wanted to show today. Back to the launch. And there you have it. We got all the way from the bad way of doing things to a worse way and to the best way of doing things. I hope this was helpful, and don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and I see you next week. Bye bye.